sports fans. This is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live on this fine Thursday evening, coming live from Columbus, Ohio. Feeling good. I got my man Mossberg of Level Up Sports 10, also WTP Sports Dudes. How you feeling this evening, Mossberg?
Man, pretty good, pretty good. Had a late night working into the morning. Shout out to those sixth graders at Windsor. I'm sorry I couldn't make it today. I was sleeping. I tried to hang in there, but shout out to you guys, man. Graduating, walk across that platform, man. It was just a great thing to know you did that, and I appreciate you having me as well this evening. Just relaxing, can't complain at all.
For sure, for sure. We also got FanDuel Zaya, also of WTP Sports Dudes, and also a FanDuel Zaya show. How you feeling this morning? I mean, it's evening.
Man, I'm great. Just like Mossberg said, man, shout out to the youngins, man. They leveling up, all of them, not even just the sixth graders. We all getting older. Time don't stop for nobody. And you know, we back with another banker.
Yes, sir.
Bang. And we also got our man Post Game in the building with us as well, straight out of Indiana. How you feeling Post Game?
I feel great. It's always a pleasure to be on them or share the mic with my fellow Midwesterners. So let's get it, fellas.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Appreciate you joining, man, and in here, South Bend in the building.
Before we get rolling, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Our man Super Cat Nano 2820, a musical phenom. If you ever get a chance to check out his music on YouTube, go check him out. That's Super Cat Nano, spelled with a cat spelled with a K, and Nano spelled Nayno. Check him out on YouTube. His music is fire. Also, we want to give a shout out to K and T's Good Eats LLC. My man Kevin Bird and his wife Tammy, they got a nice catering company that they cater food for weddings, parties, you name it. They can cook some good food for your guests. Make sure that you hit him up on Instagram at Kevin J Bird. That's Bird spelled BYRD. Hit him up on Instagram. Also, his sister owns Social Nutrition, Sips and Good Conversation, where you can get a nutritious shake along with energy teas and some other items that she have that can help you. If you're trying to control your weight, she can help you out tremendously with some of the products that she has at her shop. That's at 3136 South Hamilton Road, just south of Refugee Road here in Columbus, Ohio. And also our man, Young Buck, the Chief, .5991. He has his own apparel line. You can get you any authentic thing you want, whether it be a hat, a shirt, it can be jeans, it can be shoes, you name it. This young man can give you something authentic, one of a kind. So hit him up on Instagram and on TikTok at the Chief. That's DECHIEF .5991. Thank you, sponsors. Now let's get into this action we want to talk about tonight. As our man FanDuel Zaya is coming back in, he's working on some of his computer stuff. You can be on stream with us. We want to talk about if the Power Four conferences form divisions, what might the divisions look like? What might they look like? So I got a question for y'all before we get into these conferences. Do you think that if they were to form divisions, that these commissioners would have rivals in the same division, or do you think they would spread them out, or does it even matter?
I think they would. It would kind of stay similar. They would try the best, I would say, to spread it out because you know how the NCAA had control of a lot of things when it came to conferences and divisions. So I think they would try their best to make it as competitive, but still looking for those big games as well. So I think you'll get a mixture of maybe one or two team outside of a normal maybe conference or division, but for the most part, you will see teams in that area in those respective leagues divisions.
Yeah, for me, I would say that it needs, I would say that balance needs to be the focus if you're going to do something like that. Rivalries, I believe, if I don't think you can get all rivalries in the same division, but the bigger ones, the more legendary rivalries, they gotta be in the same divisions. So for that to work, I think there needs to be balance if you go to divisions.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm still working on my camera, but just to tap into the question, I thought each conference was its own type of formula. As I went through it, I actually had three different options for the Big Ten. Um, but as far as rivalries, you want to keep the rivalries and the tradition going. So you had to be mindful as that. And as we go through it, you will see different people's standpoint and visions upon, even if you didn't have the same teams that is them traditional rivalries in the same divisions, maybe you created a way where you could still get them cross play games. So I thought it was kind of difficult for real, and it was a good exercise because this is possibly a way that we could see college football going towards, as we see all these qualifying teams. Even if we move to, especially if we move to like a 16 team league, you could see them breaking it down kind of like this. Even if they didn't, though, just because of the parity in the schedules are so different for a lot of teams, and we just want to weed out teams not getting into that playoff that don't really deserve to be there.
Okay. One more question before we go into this to the first conference we're going to talk about. Do you think it's easier to come up with a conference champion without divisions, or do you think it's easier to come up with one if you did have divisions?
I think you should have a division. I think you would. It just make me think about when post games mentioned rivalries. But I think if you have a division, I think you have that exclusive battle. And what I mean by exclusive, you had those teams that's like they're going to battle week in, week out, and play for it. Whereas now you see a couple teams, they might fall by the wayside halfway through the season if they know they really don't got much of a shot, pushing for, a championship. So I think it makes sense to definitely, have that in order to have that championship as well.
Hey, if y'all don't mind, before I answer the question, I would like to send my condolences out to the Ursay family and the Indianapolis Colts community. We lost the owner last night in his sleep at the age of 65. So my thoughts and prayers are out to him and his family. Um, would it be easier? I that's a very good question. I think on paper it might be easier to crown a champion if you didn't have divisions. Because if you got divisions, maybe two teams end up in a tie. I don't know. That's a really good question. But first thought, I would say it would probably be easier without divisions in each conference.
Yeah, Paulie Poe was saying separate division, you have to have a championship game. And I think I can see his point there. I remember when the Big 12 was only 10 teams and everybody in that conference played each other. So you automatically got the matchup you was looking for because the top two teams will be easy to get. But now that you got teams that got 16 teams, got 18 teams, it's a little more difficult to make that happen because everybody's not going to play each other. And that's what the Big 12 was hanging their hat on at that time to try to get into those BCS games. And when the first 14 college football playoffs came out, is we're crowning a real true champion because everybody played each other in this conference. So our champion is a real true champion. You ain't got nobody else arguing about we should have been in the game or not. So, but now you can't do that now because you got, like I said, 16 teams, 18 teams in these conferences now. So I'm interested to see how this thing is going to come out once we get started. So let's start off with the ACC. The ACC has 18 teams. You got Boston College, Cal, Clemson, Duke, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami, North Carolina, NC State, Pittsburgh, SMU, Stanford, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and Wake Forest. You only have one team that's way out there on the West Coast. How would you decide how you're going to make this team into? Are you going to do three divisions, two divisions? How can you make it work?
Hey, just so let me go first, just because I'm still working on my internet and all that stuff. This is the only conference, you always got that one hard-headed ass conference. This is the conference I think will be hard-headed. You said one West Coast team. It's actually two, and then you got one separated from everybody else. Yeah, you got Stanford and Cal all the way on the West Coast, everybody else on the East Coast. And then you got SMU and Texas right there in the middle. So I was like, man, it would be hard to put all three of them schools in just one division. So I was like, it'll only be right to schedule everybody and then just make everybody go play them because them is the farther. You got to think about travel. The travel will be hectic for any of them teams to go to SMU, Cal, or Stanford and have to play on the road. So I was like, man, this might be the one hard-headed conference that would not go to divisions. They'll fight it at all means because the travel just don't make sense for this conference at all. You only got two teams out there that's close enough to each other to where you ain't got to spend the bank, but they will have the advantage anytime somebody got to come to them, and they not even your powers in your conference. So why would you regionalize them and try to make the travel make sense just for two teams that's not even your top dogs? That's why I was like, I mean, and really y'all gonna get to see later on in the show. I got situations where three divisions in the conference makes sense to me, but the ACC, nothing makes sense unless it's just like they add two more schools that's out there. They got to add two more West schools or somewhere close enough to that region for it to even make any sense, because it's like really they playing with unfair advantages out there at Cal and Stanford, but we already know them ain't even going to be your best two schools in the conference anyway. So you would much rather schedule your top teams in that conference and make them go out there once every other year or once every 3 or 4 years, rather than put them at risk of not being able to make the college football playoff due to that travel. Because I ain't saying they bums, but they bums. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of travel, though. You know what I mean? It's hard to wake up and you done traveled across the whole country. So, I mean, this is the only conference I'm going to give y'all that nothing made sense to me. And I will not even break it down. I think it need to be just exactly how it is, unless you add two, maybe Washington State and who's the other one?
Oregon State.
Oregon State. That if they added them two schools to the conference, then it'd be a better breakdown, because you could put Washington State and Cal and Oregon State and Stanford and SMU all in the same conference. You got a 5-team conference. They got 4 games. Now you only got to make 4 teams travel out there. But you got to put two of your better teams with them too. So this is the only conference, bro, that I got that it's like it don't make no type of sense.
All right, for me, just thinking about that, how you broke that down, I was thinking it would be all America to see Florida, Florida State, and Miami in the same conference. We could swap SMU for Florida and that SEC to possibly make things a little easier on the committee and how they look at things. But we know that won't happen. How good would that be for college football to see them in the ACC together and battling it out? But it's just I see what you mean now with Parlay Poe and the suggestion of breaking it down. It's a tough thing, like you said, the travel. A lot of those things play a part. But I think that'll be those games that possibly could build rivalries with other schools and the ACC. We just don't know.
Yeah, in my opinion, this was the most difficult conference to break down into divisions. For one, they have an uneven number of teams. And as far as realignment goes, I really was never a fan of having West Coast teams join the Big Ten or the ACC. I thought they should have stayed out there. But
Uh,
the ACC would be the conference that I would say made made zero sense going into divisions. And so I think they should be straight because like FanDuel was saying, Cal and Stanford, that's just funky. Um, so it is really no good way to break this conference down into division. Because like I said, again, you got a uneven number of teams. So that makes it really difficult and as far as the travel too. So
uh,
this was one of the ones I had a difficult time with. Maybe one of the divisions has one more, but then how does that make sense? So I had a lot of trouble with the ACC.
Right. Hey, post game, that 17 team thing, it like trickle everything. If it was 20, maybe I think you could figure it out.
right.
But even if it was 18, it'd still be hard to kind of, you know what I mean, to kind of figure it out. But if it was 20 or even 20, it just stupid. It looks stupid. It's retarded. I don't know. But they had to lock in the conference. You know what I mean?
Some
They
kind of
had to lock in the conference, or the conference will be like, it would be weeds right now. It would be nothing.
wouldn't be an ACC for sure. It'd be smoke in the air.
Yeah, yeah. I did that one last actually because I was like it doesn't make any sense. And then you got Notre Dame who was
Damn,
supposed
man, I
to
can't
be
get my camera working on here.
like a lightweight ACC schedule. When it comes to football, they playing a couple of teams in the ACC, and it was like, do a 9 and an 8? Because you really can't put Notre Dame in there, even though they playing some of those teams.
Right.
It was ridiculous. So you really would have to lead them all by themselves. But I said, okay, well, let me just see if I can make something happen with it. And I said, okay, I'll put Duke, North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest in a 4-team division. I would put Boston College, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, Louisville in a 4-team conference. Then I would put Virginia Tech, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Clemson in a 4-team conference. Then Florida State, Miami, SMU, Stanford, and then Cal with them to have a 5-team, not conference, division, which none of it made any sense. But they probably need to boot one of them out or get 3 more teams in order to make it make sense, man. And I think they could do that. I think they could pluck somebody from the Mountain West, maybe a Boise State, maybe a UNLV, and along with Washington State and Oregon State to make it make sense. And then let Notre Dame do what they do. They're never going to be, well, I ain't going to say never. They're not confined to a conference, so they pretty much do what they want to do. And you want to play them anyway because that's a moneymaker.
Right.
But the ACC was definitely crazy for sure.
Right.
let's take a look at the Big 12. The Big 12 has Arizona, Arizona State, Baylor, BYU, Cincinnati, Colorado, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, UCF, Utah, West Virginia. They're all over the place. What's your thoughts on this conference, and how would you even attempt to put those conferences into that conference into divisions?
So I went two different routes with the Big 12. I got two different listings. Um, and it just makes sense to me, honestly. So the first one is pretty much um, two separate divisions. It's more of a proximity thing, so you can cut down on travel. You'll still be able to do cross matches if you wanted to do that. So in my first division, we just call it the left division because a lot of the teams are closer to the West Coast. We got Utah, BYU, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Texas Tech, Kansas, and Kansas State. In the right division, you got Iowa State, Oklahoma State, uh, and I kind of separated the TCUs and the Baylors because I was still trying to even it out a little bit. Um, and then you got Houston, Cincy, West V, and UCF. Um, and I don't really like that, but I was also thinking about basketball too, and what it would make sense with that as well. Like on the basketball side, you got the Baylors of the world that's always usually have good teams, the Houston's, the Cincinnati's, and then on the other side you got blue bloods with Kansas and Arizona to carry that side. So I was trying to even it out on both sides of the spectrum when I thought of this. But when I broke it down to the 4-team division, because it's 16 teams, I thought it felt a little more natural and better to me. So it was kind of um, like I was doing proximity, but I was still saving rivalries. So you got that whole Texas bracket where you got Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, Houston. How great would that be if they had to play each other every year? That would be so dynamic. You know what I mean? Then you got the BYU, Utah, Arizona State, Arizona. That I think that's dynamic. You know what I mean? Then in the other bracket, you got Colorado, Kansas State, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. That's dynamic because you still getting that Kansas State, Kansas, and you can still cross match with all these conferences when it's just a 14 conference. So you still getting the best product out of your conference. And then the worst one that I came out with was Iowa State, Cincy, West V, and UCF. But that bracket was so hard to do because UCF, West Virginia, and Cincy, they all kind of in the same proximity, but UCF so far from everybody else that it just is like you got to throw them somewhere, and that's the closest thing that you could put in proximity. So they really probably need more proximity than any conference that we come across, just because of the money. They don't really have a program that's a blue blood in football, as Moss call it. You know what I mean? Moss, you know what I'm saying. You
Yes,
feel
sir.
me? We got our traditional powers though, and they
Yeah.
really don't have no traditional power in the conference right now. I mean, you can go to Colorado back in like the 60s, I guess, or 70s or whatever, whenever, like before Christ. But like that just makes the most sense because you only playing a 3-team schedule. If you want to say you play every team in your division, you playing a 3-team schedule so you could fill everybody's schedule out accordingly. You know what I mean? So I think in each division, maybe when you look at it, Iowa State might be the strongest in their division, and Colorado's conference, maybe Colorado, maybe it might be Kansas State, maybe one year it's Oklahoma State. You don't know who it's going to be. It's just the trajectory of your programs. Then you got the whole Texas bracket whoever gonna be hot is gonna be the ones that's gonna be hot. You could cross schedule with the other divisions to create certain primetime games for your conference, and then BYU, Utah, Arizona State, Arizona. It's the same thing for each division. I think that one makes the most sense to me out of all the ones I filled out for every conference.
Yeah, I like this one. I see what you mean. It's like a hard breakdown, similar to the ACC, but it's not too tough. So the breakdown that you have is, one, I was looking at the other two with the Iowa State, Cincinnati, UCF, West Virginia. And now when you look at it on paper, you got to think West Virginia, UCF, Cincinnati, Iowa State. 4 teams that's really proven themselves respectively, before all the conference change, mashups, and all those different things happen. That 4 is 4 teams that you can guarantee if you go against those other 3 divisions, they're going to get 1 or 2 wins, if not 4 wins, possibly, because of the strength of how they play within that conference against each other. I think that 4 is a great look on just that Big 12 division. The matchup with Arizona State, Arizona, BYU, Utah, and BYU being a number 5 team this year, college basketball. So we got to think of some of those things that's changing the landscape as well, which is going to make and bring some of these marquee matchups. Kansas, Colorado, teams that's kind of, make a name for themselves. Then you got Kansas State and Oklahoma State. Also, teams trying to make a name for themselves who've been there, but now they got to, get themselves back in those respective doings on a year in, year out basis. And shout out to FanDuel Zay. Show off your shirt, FanDuel Zay. Definitely, you can holler at him, and he will.
The merch is coming, man. The merch is coming
for you. He got merch for you, ladies and
the
gentlemen.
merch is coming.
Some good shirt he got.
Hey,
Yeah, man.
another thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, another thing I wanted to say though, in this era of football that we in right now, and I don't think necessarily it's going to impact basketball, because basketball season, you playing 30 something odd games, maybe 19, 20 in conference. We're marching to the day where rivalry games are starting to mean less and less. We've seen it with my Buckeyes this year. A lot of the fan base is like, yeah, we won a natty. Who cares if we didn't beat Michigan? Speak for your mother loving self. I want to beat them bums every year. You know what I mean? Hey, just like no. Oklahoma, Arkansas, man, nah. What we talking about? No, so when you talk about BYU and Utah, who the little bro? Who the big bro this year? We want to see that. Arizona State, Arizona. We want to see these games. Right. We don't never want to kill tradition, bro. Tradition is it's like how you pass down the chicken recipe or something. You know what I mean? This is what we talking about. We can't kill tradition, bro. This is life. You know what I mean? And I just don't. I'm not for killing tradition, bro. That's why I think if you can break down divisions and make them small enough to where you can still cross match, then you need to do that. I hate that we losing USC and Notre Dame. So that's just a lot about the tradition aspect of college football that I think if we keep on going the route we going and we losing certain traditions, and I kind of feel like they're trying to create new ones, but man, the old ones matter, man. This is the roots of it.
Yeah, 100%. I am too disappointed about the USC and Notre Dame rivalry, as well as the Michigan and Notre Dame rivalry. I think we need that. We look forward to it every season, and we need to keep those traditions, as you said. When I look at the Big 12, I broke it down to 2 divisions. So I got Arizona State, Colorado, Baylor, Kansas State, West V, Kansas, UCF, and Arizona in 1. And of course, if your rival is not in the same division, you can always schedule it still. And the other one I had Iowa State, BYU, TCU, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Houston, Utah, and OK State. I tried to balance it out as far as which teams I thought were going to be good, and and balance it with the bad teams as well. And yeah, that is, you can break it down to four and do four apiece, which I would have to make a whole different division bracket for that, but I broke mine into two again. So that's how I would see the Big 12 breaking into two different divisions.
Yeah, when I looked at it, I said, man, I'm not even going to think about no two divisions. I'm breaking this thing down to four divisions, and mine was very similar to FanDuel's. Only instead of Oklahoma State over there with Kansas and Kansas State and Colorado, I put Iowa State over there, and then instead of having Oklahoma State, I mean, with them, I put them over there with West Virginia, Cincinnati, and UCF. So mine is very similar to his. And the way I would schedule it is you're gonna play everybody in your division, then you're gonna play everybody, two teams in all the other two divisions. And then the next year you're gonna play the other two teams in the division, and then you'll flip-flop it around where you go to them. However it was, if you went to them or they came to you, you'll flip-flop it 2 years later. To make it easy for scheduling, you'll get your 9 games, your 3 in your division, and then 2 in each of the other 3 divisions, and just do it that way. Simple and easy. Sort of like how the Big 12 used to do it when they actually had 12 teams and they had the 2 divisions that they had back then. They would play the 3 and 3. So
no, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did not speak about that, and I probably should have. So we've been talking about teams playing 9 conference games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe one year the Big 12 play the ACC in a non-conference game, but you should play 9 conference games. And we're gonna have these 4 power conferences. If it break down to 2, we get to that though. But I was always in the thought process too. If it's 2 divisions with an even number like that of 16, you play 5 games in your division. You do 4 cross plays just in case you got ties going on. Now you can break the ties. And you know what I mean? And I think that just makes sense, because now it's more Russian roulette, in my opinion, to where it's like, all right, you can do common opponents if it come down to a tiebreaker or something like that. You can do win-loss record versus or points or point system if it come down to it. You know what I'm saying? So I think, yeah, you got divisions. You got 8 teams. You play 5 on one side, 6 out of the 8 though. That's 6 out of the 8. But if you play a few other ones on the other side, then you start getting into the common opponent thing, and you need that for tiebreakers in aspects. You know what I'm saying? That was good though that you mentioned that, because I didn't mention that, and we was thinking of like minds, great minds.
Man, what did he just give me a compliment? Because he dogged me all day at work.
Man,
Oh my God!
That group thread
Don't
too.
get on here capping, man.
Because we mentioned a couple of times about these rivalries possibly going away, new ones being created. And I kind of feel the same way y'all do. I don't want to see rivalries that we've been accustomed to for so many years. I mean, for as long as we've been watching college football, we don't want to see those rivalries go away. And I think the years we were watching Michigan and Notre Dame play, that rivalry, man, for all the years that we watched it, and we haven't seen it in a while. I don't think that's good. And I think especially when Texas is now in the SEC, and they're trying to, I ain't gonna say force, but they're trying to make this Georgia-Texas thing into a rivalry. When I'm thinking to myself, man, Texas already got really 3 built-in rivalries with Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, pretty much. So I don't know, man. I think I would rather see what we've seen so far, and then you get to see some good matchups, along the way. But I don't want to see the good matchups, rivalries go away.
And no, I'm sorry, guys. Let me rebuttal that a little bit though, because I kind of understand the other side of it.
Oh, yeah,
And
sure.
and my viewpoint of it is we are moved to the NIL state. So to keep up with the rivalries, everybody got to be playing on the same level of talent. And Texas and Georgia got the same type of money. So we can expect them to go at it for years and years and years. I don't necessarily think that Arkansas is going to be able to keep up with y'all. They might fall up. Y'all might beat them just like how we was beating on Michigan for 20 years. You know what I mean? They might beat y'all 4 times over the next 20 years. And then for the next 2 decades, it might happen again. And that's what the scary part is of NIL, is that really wherever the money is where the money going to go. You know what I mean? So you got to create new rivalries in that aspect. You got to, because the rival that ain't got as much um real estate is not going to be able to keep up, man. They not. And that's why it's like, all right, Michigan our rival. They done created Penn State to be our rival. But as we see, they trying to make Oregon our new rival, because Oregon got a bag like we got. So I'm kind of cool with a mix with a little new, but I don't want to get rid of the old all the way completely. I think it's certain, like how we was talking the other day, Texas Tech and Texas. I don't care for that rivalry. I really don't care for that one. That's little bro. That's like Ohio State and Cincinnati, but the only difference is we don't play Cincinnati. You know what I mean? That's the only difference for real. But I'm guaranteeing you, if I look up the stats of Texas and Texas Tech, y'all probably beat on them the last 10 times. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to see that. I don't. And I think the rest of the country is probably in agreement to that.
That could very well be true. But in terms of Arkansas fans, Texas fans, Oklahoma fans, Texas A&M fans, and Texas fans, they as fans of those 2 universities, they want to continue to see that. Now the rest of the country, maybe not so much. Not like in comparison to Notre Dame, USC, Ohio State, Michigan, But I think the fans still want to see those games. Anything else y'all want to add about the Big 12 before we go to the SEC?
Go ahead, fellas. I do got something to add.
Nah, we good.
Oh well, I think out of all the conferences, this is the conference that's most likely to split and get rid of first. If I just had to say it, because when you go down and you look at these schools, maybe they might be able to stay intact and on the basketball side, but we done seen schools switch conferences just for football. This conference, it's really no big names on the football side. So I think they should be the first ones to call the Notre Dames of the world, the Washington States of the world, go to the Mountain West and call the Boise States. And I think they need at least 4 schools that bring enough cachet to the conference to actually stay intact within the next decade. Because in the next decade, I could see this conference fizzling out.
Well, let me ask y'all this, because since you made that statement, I want to ask y'all this. Is there any team in the Big 12 that has an allure that an SEC team would want, the SEC conference would want, or that a Big 10 conference would want? And the same for the ACC. Is there any teams in either one of those conferences that would draw the attention of the Big 10 or the SEC?
I gotta the Big Ten likes that West. I don't know what it is. They like going West with Washington. You know, they got Oregon. So I was thinking BYU. I don't know why. You know, the physicality. You know, maybe they'll come around and be a team that can, you know, that could make some of that recruiting, you know, pan out. But just seeing how they go West, you know, BYU may be one of those teams. Just my thought.
I don't know if there's a team, but I do know there's a coach, and that would be primetime Deion Sanders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Outside
True.
of that, geographically, maybe Iowa State makes sense for the Big Ten,
Mm.
but that's about it.
I would say two schools. I like the Iowa State post game because geographically it makes sense. I don't know what Iowa State's academics is. Academics play a big role in schools coming into conferences more than people think. But I would also say Texas Tech because they got money. They gonna get revenue. You know what I mean? So them is the two schools that kind of would make sense. And we don't really got a Texas market either, so it would make sense to get into that market. So them are the two schools for me. We don't like we were just talking on the last stream or the stream before that one. I would say about the Big Ten and if they went to this 3-6, 4-5 play, where would we play these games at? Because it got to be on a neutral site and it got to be in a dome. If we move to Texas, we could find somewhere to play. You know what I'm saying? Because we have that market now, but we don't have a market where we got a lot of domes. So them are the two schools for me, definitely. Outside of that, I don't see nobody else really fitting. Yeah, none of the other schools really make sense to me.
Yeah, both of y'all made some really, really good points. The one for Colorado, but of course, it's only because of Prime. But if he's not there, then of course, nobody really wants Colorado. And then I like the point about Texas Tech because you got the Texas market, they got bread, and they're gonna always be able to compete in terms of getting some players with NIL with their NIL bank that they got. But you have mentioned that you think that this conference will be the first one to dissolve. Did you say that that'll be the first one to go away?
Uh, I'm saying on the football tip because we see Notre Dame, they're still in the Big East in basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're independent in football. Football, you can separate your football from being in the conference in basketball or anything. You can always separate your football team because really football gonna bring in the most money anyway. So yeah, football wise, it ain't enough. It ain't enough top dogs in that conference to make you be like, ooh, I'm sweating. Like this don't make me sweat when I see these schools' names at all. What have any of these teams done ever in forever of time to make you be like, oh, and they got a fan base that's somewhere on Ohio State level or Notre Dame level or Florida State level or a Texas level. You know what I mean? They don't got this, they don't got the fan base. So there's no way they're gonna be able to stay up there. At least ACC got Florida State and the Miamis of the world. You know, they keeping them up and they hanging by a thread though, you know, with them too. But that they carry a lot of weight. Them two teams and the Clemsons, they carry a lot of weight. These other teams in this Big 12, they don't carry a lot of weight. These are good basketball programs, though. I'll tell you that. They keep the basketball side together.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's why I was saying that they should be happy that they're going to possibly get two automatic bids in the college football players if it goes to 16 teams. I would not be vying for anything more than that because you still got three at-large bids and you could possibly get a third team in that way. But you know you automatically going to get two. I wouldn't even be trying to get anything more than that based on what we see that conference has. I'm talking about the Big 12. You shouldn't be trying to get no more than two automatic bids with hopes of getting another at-large bid team in there.
Now
Let's
that you saying that if we move to a 16 team playoff?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If we
And
move
did
to
y'all hear the news today?
Yeah, that new playoff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
the seeding.
yep.
what's the new seeding? They're going to go with the top 4 teams.
No,
Yep.
no, no. It's
That
it's
the
just regular seeding. So if you rank number one, you the number one seed. If you rank
Yeah,
number
yeah,
six,
yeah,
you the
yeah,
number six seed.
right,
Yeah,
right, right.
they're going with straight seeding.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, okay. Well, that's good.
So
That's
Boise State wouldn't have been 3; they would have been 9.
where they should have
Would have
been.
been crazy.
Yeah, right.
All right, well, let's take a look at the best conference in college football, the SEC.
Why you
Would
ain't
you-
leave it last, man?
Because the Big Ten won the last 2 national championships. I can't disrespect
Respect,
them like that. I can't disrespect them like that.
respect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. So
I
we
broke
got Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Vanderbilt. What's your
Hey, don't.
thoughts on divisions with this conference? 16 teams. How would you break it down?
I broke it down to 2. I did. I did it. I think I just did it as easy as it was for me, knowing how the SEC is with the battles: Bama, Arkansas, Auburn, Missouri, Texas A&M, then South Carolina and Oklahoma, and that first division. Then Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Florida, and Vandy in the second division for the SEC. I just put it in 2. I think you build that Texas A&M rivalry. We know how that could be, and with the way the SEC is, we know how a Florida Georgia could fare out. And me personally, I know how everybody liked the Georgia Texas. If we could have seen a Texas Alabama, game, I don't know. Some of the games that I think we could build with the division split would be great. I would love to see a rivalry like that built, Texas versus Alabama.
Hey, go ahead, post game. I want to hear what you're gonna say.
Yeah, I simply broke it down to 2 different divisions. Again, I tried to create balance. And in one division, I had Texas, Missouri, Bama, LSU, Florida, Vanderbilt, Auburn, and Mississippi State. The second division, I had Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi, South Cat, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Kentucky. And my thinking again was just balanced. I kind of went off the standings from the past season to create a little, I don't know, parity, a little balance, whatever you want to call it in the SEC.
And you still create some crazy rivalries that could happen. I think that's the reason I like how all of our lists is looked at, because you see a lot of rivalries being created with just the picks that we don't have in each respective division or breakdown that we have. So I like that as well myself.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. If the SEC ever did what I wrote on my paper, they will own college football forever. Because I single-handedly cracked the code. I'm telling y'all, I cracked the code. Hey, listen, if this is not the greatest division of football you will ever see in your life, tell me I'm lying. You got OU, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. They all rivals, goddammit. They all goddamn rivals. Hey, everybody every year will be tuned into every single one of them games in the division. And then check this out. Look what I did. I'm going to go to the weakest division that I created out of the whole SEC, which is Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky, and Vandy, which I think it will be the best on the basketball side when you look at these schools. But when I did that, I was like, all right, Florida, they'd be fighting with Florida State and Miami for recruits. But if you create a way for them to be the best team in their division every year, they get all the recruits. You know what I mean? They get all of them. Hey, it's SEC country. And one thing we know is SEC is the SEC. They gonna show up, and I sent y'all the ratings. You know, we ain't beating them in the ratings. That's a fact. But listen to this division. I got Georgia and Auburn. We got the Iron Bowl every year. Mississippi State and Tennessee, and we still have 4 teams per division. You can still cross match anybody you want. And then we finish off with Bama, Ole Miss, LSU, and Mizzou. And we still got the Bama LSU. You could cross-match anybody, too. Bro, if that's not the way to crack the code for the SEC, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? I just cracked the code for them. And I kind of did proximity, but I still kept, like, certain teams together. But that OU, Texas A&M, and Arkansas division would be so problematic for the world. It will be problematic for the world because you're gonna be tuned into every last one of them games every time, bro. It ain't no other way around it. And then, like, we know what Bama and LSU is every year. You can still cross match, but one thing about this is I also separated as me thinking that Texas, Georgia, and Bama is the power in football in that conference. So certain years you got to give them breaks from playing each other. You know, you don't want to see them bumping into each other every year. You still want them to bump into each other enough, but they're going to bump into each other enough in the conference championship game if you hold one, or the 3 versus 6, 4 versus 4. Excuse me. Thank you. You're going to still see them bump into each other because of the conference is so well built with programs with money, NIL, good weather. You're going to see them bump into each other enough.
Now I'm starting to realize what Mrs. Queen and Leah was talking about. You came in my room and was looking at my sheet, bro.
No, I wasn't. Oh, my God.
Man.
Don't sit there and lie on me, dog. Don't lie on me.
Are you serious? You was on my sheet?
I cracked the code, man.
Yeah, bro.
Okay, wait a minute. Who did you have with Alabama again?
Bama, I got Ole Miss, LSU, and Mizzou.
Whoa, okay. Maybe you didn't look at my sheet.
Yeah.
Now I totally agree with you 1,000 because I broke the SEC into 4-team divisions. Of course, I had Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas A&M. I think you can't not do that. You got to do that.
It only makes sense.
Yeah, it only makes sense. You got to do that. My other one was Alabama. In my opinion, you got to have Alabama, LSU, and Auburn together. You got to have all 3 of them together with weak Vanderbilt. And then I went Georgia, Florida, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Missouri.
But then you got that terrible division of Tennessee, Kentucky, Mizzou, and somebody else.
I got it's Tennessee, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State and Ole Miss, they got to be together. I feel like Tennessee and Kentucky got to be together. I feel like Georgia and Florida got to be together. And I feel like Auburn, LSU, and Alabama got to be together in the same division.
I like yours a little more than mine, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because really,
the code I did.
I was on point, though. You know, I was on point.
I think that like you were saying about that Texas division. You got 3 rivals every year. And then I think to keep from having to play Alabama and Georgia and Texas and Georgia and Texas and Alabama all the time, you do the same thing that I was saying in the other division with the Big 12, and you play 2 teams, and then the next year play the other 2 teams from those other 2 divisions, and just keep doing it like that. But always playing the team that's in your division every year. To make it easy and simple.
Facts. Well, so when you say that, as I'm looking at it, I will only do that with my divisions with the OU, Texas A&M, and Arkansas division, and I would do that with the Florida division. But everybody else, you play everybody in your conference every year. The other two ones, you know what I mean? You play everybody not in your conference, in your division every year. So Georgia, you play Auburn, Mississippi State, and Tennessee every year. Bama, you play Ole Miss, LSU, and Mizzou every year. You cross match with everybody else though.
Yeah, yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool.
Mm.
Any other things y'all want to add about the SEC before we go on to the last conference, the Big Ten?
It's a good one right here.
I know one thing. When I looked at the SEC, man, they got a lot of. They're not top heavy. They're not weak at the bottom heavy.
Yeah.
They got a lot of good solid stuff right in the middle. They got a beer belly. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I hope we can get around to breaking these conferences down because I'm telling you, I wrote it down. I got it in my notebook, and it's just like, and I don't got that notebook. It's on my desk at work, but it's like a whole bunch of 6-2 in the conference, 9-3 overalls, and no team really got a lot of losses though, other than like the bottom feeders, which is Mississippi State, Vandy, and Kentucky, and maybe Mizzou this year.
Yeah. It brings back a lot of them classic like bowl game matchups that we think about and we spoke about as well. Just so far looking at it, like you'll be talking about a lot of 9-3 teams respectively. It's a lot of teams we could think right now that would be 6-2 coming into the season at this point right now if we just thought about it. So totally agree with how we looking at our breakdown as well.
Yeah. Well, let's break down this Big Ten. We got Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, Michigan State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Purdue, Rutgers, UCLA, USC, Washington, and Wisconsin. What's your thoughts on breaking down this conference? Zay, you can go last.
I don't know if I'm gonna break this down as easy as possible or as easy as possible. I broke it down in 4. I went with Oregon, UCLA, Washington, and USC. They used to travel in that way. They're gonna continue to travel that way, be in the Big Ten, and match up against some prime teams. USC looking at Michigan to possibly be a newborn rivalry. And of course, we see the Oregon and Ohio State matchup that's building. We could look at Washington and a possibility of playing another opposing team, and as well as UCLA, in the years to come, and how they may fare out. But then the next one I have Michigan, Maryland, Michigan State, Iowa, Indiana. And then the third one I have OSU, Minnesota, Penn State, Rutgers, and Illinois. And then in the last one, I'm missing one team. I got Northwestern, Purdue. What is that? Northwestern, Purdue. I wrote it down so fast on my chicken scratch. It's a couple other teams for the last division. I mean, it wasn't pretty tough. It was fairly easy. Just keeping the teams that came from West, USC, Oregon, UCLA, and Washington in the same division, playing against each other, and branching out the rest of the Big Ten. That was just my way of doing that.
Yeah, again, man, key word for me when we doing these breakdowns to divisions is balance. So I broke it down in 2 divisions. In one division, I have Oregon, Penn State, Iowa, Michigan, Rutgers, Washington, UCLA, Wisconsin, and Maryland. The second division, I have Ohio State, Indiana, Illinois, Minnesota, USC, Nebraska, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Purdue. I purposely made sure Ohio State and Oregon were in separate divisions, as well as Michigan and Ohio State. I believe Oregon and Ohio State may be the cream of the crop for years to come. But who knows? We can never count out Michigan, Penn State, Iowa. But again, the key word for me when breaking down these divisions was balance. And so that's what I tried to execute.
Yeah, I looked at two different combinations, but I actually like the two team combination better. But my three division combination was Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana, Purdue, Rutgers, Wisconsin. Then we had Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, Northwestern, Minnesota, Maryland, which is pretty weak. And then I had Oregon, UCLA, Washington, USC, Iowa, Nebraska, which wasn't too bad if we can get USC up again. But of course, the weakest one was that Michigan division. So I said, nah, I got to break this down into two. So I went with Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, Purdue, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Minnesota. And then on the other side, I had Michigan, Penn State, USC, UCLA, Michigan State, Illinois, Northwestern, Iowa, and Maryland. I feel like I had to keep Michigan and Michigan State together, and I felt like I had to keep Indiana and Purdue together. So, not really that big of an issue, but I felt like I needed to have those teams in the same division together. Which, like I said, USC needs to get up in order to make that two-team division look good for Michigan and Penn State, because I think Ohio State and Oregon in the same one on my list is a much better top two than Michigan and Penn State at this point.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I actually got three different breakdowns. In my two-team division, I went with all the West Coast schools, so Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, just to keep them over there, and you cut down on some travel and expenses. Then I got Wisconsin, Illinois, Nebraska, and then Iowa. On the other side, I would have Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Indiana, Northwestern, Rutgers, and Purdue. I think that makes sense as well. Then I went with a proximity where it's a three-team division. It's more of a proximity thing more than anything. So I took all the schools west that was Western, and then I took all the schools that was Eastern, and then I took the middle school. So you came down with Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, and then you just was like, all right, just throw two more schools with them, which I came down to Nebraska and Iowa, and I felt like that'll help Oregon and USC stay at the top of the pack. They'll probably fight each other more often than not. Then you in that middle bracket, you'll have Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Northwestern, Michigan, Michigan State. That way you'll leave Michigan more at the premium of the conference. And then, of course, Ohio State, Penn State, Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue, Indiana. So I ain't really like that one, but it was the proximity type vibe. And then I made the last one, which is the one I kind of did proximity. I kind of did football, basketball, and then I tried to also make it as equal as possible, knowing what I was working up against. And this is the one I really want y'all to listen to. I got UCLA, USC, Rutgers, Indiana, Nebraska, and Iowa in one division. The next division, I got Purdue, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan State, Washington, and then Penn State in one division. And then my final division, I got Maryland, Minnesota, Michigan, Oregon, Illinois, and Northwestern. And that one, I liked that one the most because every division got a West Coast team, so it's not an unfair advantage. Um, so you can schedule. I mean, the Big Ten creating enough money for these schools to be able. It's just a toll going all the way out west. I feel like, but even on the basketball tip, like you got New York in the market with LA. You know what I mean? You got Ohio State still seeing Purdue and Michigan State every year. And Wisconsin, what Purdue, Wisconsin, and Michigan State got good basketball teams almost every year. I wasn't just thinking about football when I was doing this. Then with the Michigan, that's more of the the basketball bracket, but you still got Michigan and Oregon over there on the football side, and them are two powerhouses. So I like how more equal that is more than anything, and it might be hard to kind of you have to get tricky. You have to get tricky. You might have to do something like, or you take your top two teams, especially if we go to 3-6, 4-5, and then that team advances to the playoffs. You might have to get tricky and just be like, these are our top two teams, and then you might have to create a system where you take the next two teams from any division out of that. You know, I don't know. It's a system. Like I haven't worked on that type of math yet. But when you get tricky when you get to them them three divisions of teams. You know what I mean? It get real tricky. You got to create some real creative math to actually get your best teams into that college football playoff. So I don't know. I like that 3-team division more than I like the other ones. Like I don't really like the proximity too much because you got USC and Oregon for sure, but that Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Northwestern, Michigan, Michigan State, that just don't sit right with me. That is terrible on the football side. It's so bad. It's so great on the basketball side. I like it on the basketball side. I do not like it on the football side at all. So, I mean, it will be hard. It'll be tricky. I think the Big Ten need to add 2 more teams. Really, for if you was to break it down to a division, you need to go get Notre Dame and Clemson, and then it could really sit right.
Yeah. Let me ask y'all this. I got a couple of questions that I want to ask y'all. Do you think it's easier to, because I heard a lot of two divisions in the conference and a lot of 3 divisions in a conference when it came to, the ACC and the Big Ten. Do y'all think it's easier to schedule games with those kind of setups or a 4-team division?
So it depends if you basing it off of proximity. Because if you base it off of proximity, you got a lot of schools fighting for the same recruits. So sometimes certain schools in that division can be down. So if you're not basing off proximity, you just trying to base it off I think you need to base it off a balance based off of revenue for real that schools is creating. Because we're in the NIL day and money talk, bro. Money always talk from the beginning of time. It used to be gold. Now it's money. It's dollar bill though. You know what I mean? Like, so you gotta base it off the money, man. And yeah, it'll be easy for real. It just got to be right, if that makes sense. It just got to be right.
What's your thoughts, post game?
I mean, I don't think it would be difficult at all, no matter what format they decide to go to. If they do change the formats of these conferences, you just balance it out. Maybe put the rivals in the same division, have everybody play each other once, then you got like 3 games where you play somebody from the other side. So I don't think it'll be difficult. They'll figure it out.
I think, and with those 3 games, like you said, I think you should look to make those 3 games a stronger opponent. I think because you're looking to build something special, as well in the future to come. So you wouldn't want to make something look cupcakeish and to create something for people to continue to talk about. So those 3 games, I definitely feel they should be something strong. If it's already scheduled for other teams, take what's left. Obviously that'll show where money plays a part at some point. But I think you'll still respectively get some great games as well.
Another question I had was if the Big Ten is going to expand, and I think they are going to expand. I think the SEC is going to expand as well. Can the Big Ten afford to expand without getting Notre Dame? Do they have to get Notre Dame first before they add anybody else?
That's all I'm gonna say.
Man, listen, Rob, man, Notre Dame is going to be independent longer than I thought they were going to be, especially with the way they switched up the rules for the seeding today. The only way Notre Dame goes into a conference is if they create a super conference where only that conference makes the playoffs. Outside of that, wishful thinking.
Notre Dame about that dollar
Nah,
bill, y'all. Dollar bill, y'all.
I got a way for y'all. Y'all just don't know. Uh, you would have to. The Big Ten would have to go into SEC country, and they had to start bringing a lot of them SEC dudes too. You know, into the Big Ten because what you see is in football recruiting in high school, the trenches is in the SEC country. You got skill everywhere though. You know, you got the Callies, and we already in Cali. We got the Callies. We got we got the Ohio's. You know what I mean? We get players, but you got to get Florida State and Clemson first. Then next, you got to move to Texas, and you got to get Texas Tech, and you got to get one more team. And I don't care who the other team is, but you got to go into SEC country. And that's the only really way. You got a Florida school, you got a Texas school, and then you got a South Carolina school. That's the way to do it without Notre Dame.
Did you just say Florida State Seminoles?
Yeah, I told you plan B. Y'all plan B.
I appreciate the love. Appreciate the love. Coming to the Big Ten is all love. That's the second shout out. Let me not forget what you done hit me with today, man. You sent some
Plan
love.
B.
You sent some love to him earlier, and I appreciate it.
You know the morning after peel.
Oh yeah, it always worked. That's what they said.
What's y'all's thoughts on what postgame said about the way the new format is going to be? It's going to be very difficult for anybody to try to get Notre Dame to join a conference because they're always going to make the top 16. Once they go to 16 teams, they're going to probably always make the top 12.
It's the only team since I've been watching college football that I can wake up every Saturday and I know I'm going to watch some Notre Dame football at some time during the day. It don't matter. They on TV. If you doing that year in, year out, I don't care what nobody say. All you got to do is win. They got to respect it. You're Notre Dame. They not going to keep you out of anything pushing from here on out. Because if they would have, it would have been this year. It would have been this year. And post game, shout out to post game. My little brother is a Notre Dame fan, and I'm gonna definitely talk to him about you, man. Great guy indeed you are, and he would love to talk to you as well. But yeah, you can't keep South Bend out of it. You talking about branded by Adidas, branded NBC. I mean, not even that, just the academic side, So you're talking about just everything when it come across the board. Notre Dame student athlete as well, so it's a tough thing to break. And maybe they're on to something that no one's really paying attention to. They've been holding their own and they've been standing firm for quite a few years. That could be something to look at, later on down the road if this is something that continues for Notre Dame in these years of all of this nail going on as well.
I wish brother T1 was on the stream because he hate this. He hate it, man. He would go on and on about this. T1 would go on, but we got to be honest about this too, though. Like Notre Dame got their own battle that they fighting. Yeah, they getting all this money, and who's to say it's necessarily going to the football program? I think it's really going to the university. They got a lot of money to play with, though. Don't get it twisted. But the fact that it's a Catholic school, you only can recruit certain type of kids. You can't just recruit anybody. So I think that'll keep them at bay, and that's one side of it. But I also think that if it becomes two super conferences, that even if it's at bay, you could kind of probably force them into it. So it's two sides to every story, and that's just my two sides to it. If they got Catholic, and they gonna fight against that and get recruits, and then they got hella money to spend. And I mean, if it's two super conferences, they gonna be like, hey, either you gonna come with us or you're not. You know what I mean? You better have an undefeated season if you think you're getting in here, though. So that's just how I feel. And it definitely, if the SEC and the Big Ten expand a little more and they go north of 20, let's say 24, 22, man, it's going to be a hard fight for Notre Dame to play a schedule enough for everybody to think that they one of the best teams in the country. And if they lose, that's going to hurt you every time. You know what I mean? So it's a play against good and evil for me.
If I'm the commissioner of the SEC, I'm going and I'm talking to the ACC, and I'm going and talking to the Big 12, and I'm saying, listen, this is what we need to do. We need to say, Notre Dame, you want to be independent? Stay independent. You can never join a conference, ever. Just stay independent. We ain't going to bother you. We're going to let you do what you do. Just don't go over there and join that damn Big Ten.
You a hater. You a hater.
That's what I
would. Oh, my God.
We already know the reality is if they're going to ever join a conference, and I don't see why they would because they're already doing what they do. But I'm blocking the hell out of that, bro.
You a Big Ten hater. Hey, no, you a Big
Ten hater. I know if I can't get him, I'm blocking him from going.
Man, you know how much bread y'all would have if y'all got Notre Dame and a Big Ten.
Oh my God, that is a Big Ten hater for y'all, man. I hope y'all
came to the Big Ten.
So let me ask you a question, crazy. Rob. Does those same rules apply to UConn and UMass? Because they don't
matter on the football side, bro. Like you could do whatever you want on the basketball side. You could do whatever you want.
So it's just because we Notre Dame, then.
Just football.
Okay.
I mean, because the reality is, why would any other conference outside that you ain't got no chance of getting Notre Dame? You don't have.
Well, all our other sports are in the ACC. But you know what's ironic is back before all of our times, Notre Dame was in the Big Ten and got blackballed out of the Big Ten.
Really?
Yes. How ironic is that one?
Wow.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Well, don't go back to their funky butts then.
It's a book out there. It's one of these. It's a USC book that my dad got. That I read about back in the day. Got the Notre Dame history, USC rivalry from back when it first started. And it talks about that specifically, about that Notre Dame Big Ten thing, the situation. Like, it's crazy. Like, some history I can't remember.
Y'all probably talking about the 40s and the 50s, though. That like
it's way before.
Y'all talking about before Christ.
Nah.
Yeah. Let's mention it. Y'all talking about before Christ.
It's not that before, but it's crazy on the college football history, man.
Somebody give me a date and a number. Somebody give me something. It's before Christ. I'm telling you, it's before Christ. 1950 is BC for me.
Listen, Notre Dame is doing fine. Marcus Freeman got the Irish on the right track.
Yeah.
He killing the recruiting classes. If you've been to South Bend lately, they've been building and adding on to that university. It's beautiful. It's a small Catholic school. And me personally, I'm excited about the future and where Marcus Freeman is taking this program. I hope Ohio State stays relevant. No offense, because no offense, because it is. Because I know if y'all end up firing Day, y'all gonna come full force for Marcus Freeman,
No, we
and I
not.
don't want that. I don't want that to
That's not,
happen.
bro.
Why
Post.
not?
That's not the first guy we going after. We going after Vrabel.
In the NFL?
Yeah, we going after Vrabel.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, man. Freeman definitely is doing his thing down there in South Bend. He's answered a lot of critics. He's laid to rest, a lot of, comments that's been in the media about not winning a big game, through a lot of scrutiny, even in, after the loss they took earlier in the season, and to make that type of playoff run, as well as Ohio State for that natty run. Let's not forget that, y'all made a historic run this year. And then when we think about Texas, everybody's been looking forward to this year specifically. They've come in and definitely shocked, the SEC and doing what they've done. But just waiting for this Arch Manning era to take off. Just excited for a lot of those things this forward. Coming into this college football season, August 30th, as well as what Notre Dame gonna do, and of
I,
course what the Seminoles gonna do.
can
We
I
just
ask you a
leave it on the
question,
low.
Mossberg?
Yes, sir.
Because I know I've been throwing jabs at your team, and it's all a lot of fun.
Oh
But
yeah, for sure, for sure.
what makes you like? Because I want to know, like, what makes you so confident that Florida State bounces back this season?
I'm an athlete, man,
We
and
all want to know. We all want to know.
I'm a certain way. I'm gonna sum it up like this. For me, when you bring in pieces for a team, and I've played sports, even though it was on the basketball side, it take me back to my state run. We brought in pieces to that team, and it became a brotherhood. And I think when you bring in a coaching staff, it started with the coaching staff. We brought different players in as well, and it made a different dog in all of us. We all played a different part in that championship run, which created something special. And I think if the Seminoles this year could do that same thing, I think we could, create something special. We have all the key pieces at the position. It's just going out, playing your part. Whether you have to be locked in at the cornerback position, but you have to step over and help out the safety. It's just playing as a team and doing what we do. And those coaches, I think Malzahn and Tony White, I think they're putting a different swagger in Norvell. That's just my feel, and that's just how I'm looking and seeing things. I just have that type of feeling with my Seminoles this year. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I would just say I love Deuce Robinson, man. I was really mad when he didn't commit to us during that cycle.
Yeah.
So that's a
Deuce
six
Robinson,
six.
he nice. He a big target. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But y'all replacing a whole staff. Y'all replacing everybody on offense, on defense. Y'all got everything new. We ain't going 2-10 and 8-9, 8-4, or 9-3. Like, we're not doing that, bro. Y'all going 7-5 at best. You my brother, I love you though, and I'm gonna tell you on stream, bro, it's okay. Y'all 1 or 2 years removed. Y'all got to keep the momentum going into this year. Win 5 games, win 6 games, keep on recruiting heavy. And then next year, after that, keep the same momentum. We got to build it. We got to build it, man.
We on a different level, man. I feel something different. That's all I'm going to go. I'm going to go with what my thought is and what my feel is, and it's not going to stop.
I know we're going to have to bet a couple cases on a couple of these games, though, for sure.
Our first one is going to be that August 30th matchup.
But you think you're about to get an easy case, bro? Stop.
Yeah.
I need an easy case. That's
I'm
what
gonna
I
have him.
need.
I'm gonna have him throw me that case like Arch gonna find that touchdown on
Hey.
that bomb.
Hey, first game of the season, y'all losing 35-10.
35-10. If this what we gonna do, if you know what it is, if y'all lose and we win, you know that's 2 cases. You know how we do. That's the bet. The cases. The cases
I
all
ain't
got
betting
it.
you on my game. I'm betting you on your game.
And
Me
I'm betting.
and the homie playing. We got to bet. Me and you, we ain't playing, but we can bet too. Like, nah, we ain't double betting. No, you ain't. No, we ain't doing no double ups. No, we gonna bet on your game. I'm gonna bet the homie on our game. That's what we doing.
There it is.
He was nervous about double betting.
I ain't nervous. No. Y'all be trying to finesse, but y'all can't finesse a finesser, dog. I got the 3X.
Yeah, post
I got
game
the
ain't out
3X.
of this because we got his fighting Irish too this season. You ain't out the gutter.
No, we don't play y'all this year.
Oh, that's right. They
We don't
stopped
play y'all
it.
this year.
Hey, post game. We play y'all this year. We'll see y'all in the college football playoff. So we're gonna hang that bet until we see how the tools drop. Because we played y'all last year in the playoffs. So I'm gonna assume we're gonna play y'all again in this playoff. You feel me? So yeah, we're gonna wait until that come around though. We gotta bet. It's lined up. We gotta solidify it. Y'all gotta make it though.
Yeah, y'all gotta make it too now.
Oh, hold on, slow down.
Y'all lost
Slow
a lot.
down.
Your boy, what's the OC? What's the OC name?
Brian Hartline, he in line too. He in line too for head coach.
What's the one that left?
Who, Chip Kelly? The racist?
Yeah. Bro, Chip, listen, I agree with you. But during that national championship game, you gotta admit Chip Kelly was in his bag.
Man, that was Ryan Day. Stop playing.
Oh
Ryan
man, stop
Day.
it, man. Stop it.
Ryan
Did y'all see
Day.
the way he called? Did y'all see the way he called that Michigan game? Oh, y'all better know it.
Bro,
Y'all better know it. Y'all better know it.
So who was calling it in Tennessee in the Oregon game in the playoffs? Who was calling
Ryan
it?
Day. He sat everybody down and had a real conversation with them, and everybody got in their feelings. That's why the OC and the DC left. They all got in their feelings. They all did. Because Ryan Day was like, what the hell y'all doing? Making me look bad. Hey, when you the king of the jungle, and you know you got to fall on your sword because you can get the blame regardless, you got to hold people accountable. And you got to be like, no, this is what we going to do. I don't care about what I put you in charge of at the beginning of the year. This is what we going to do. And that's what we did. And Ryan Day called them shots. Best to believe it. Best to believe it.
What's the biggest thing?
So he calling the shots this year too, even though he got Brian Hartline as his offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but he gonna let Brian Hartline. He gonna let him grow throughout the season. He ain't gonna just run to the clipboard. He gonna let him go through his ups and downs.
Yeah, well, he's gonna have one hell of a down when they play on August 30th. That's for sure.
We gonna see.
Bro, are you telling me that your offensive coordinator wasn't calling any plays during the playoffs?
No, I'm saying Ryan Day gave him the blueprint of what the hell we was gonna do. So when we came out bombing against Tennessee, that was Ryan Day. He was like, "No, we're gonna get the ball into our playmakers' hands." Did you see that? Did you see that Michigan game, post game? It was bullshit. Period. Everybody know it. Everybody know it. It was bullshit.
But listen, that was a really, really good defense, man. That was a really, really good defense.
Oh my God, we tried to run straight up the middle where their strength is. Okay.
I mean, listen, but just think about it now. I want you to think about it now. You saying it was Ryan Day and not Chip Kelly or whatever you saying. When y'all played Michigan, that was a really, really good defense. They played really, really well up front. And then when y'all played Texas, it was slowed down again.
Hold on, though. Let me say this, though. 2 or 3 weeks prior, it was the same thing. Hold on. It was the same thing. It wasn't Ryan Day interfering or nothing. And we struggled and we almost lost to Nebraska. It was the same thing. Go watch the tape. Go watch the tape. You know when Ryan Day in charge. You know when he in charge because he gonna throw that ball.
So since Ryan Day in charge, let me. I've been waiting. It's been getting a little stirred up in here since you say Ryan Day's in charge.
I said he gonna let Brian Hartline go through his ups and downs this year. This is the first time calling plays.
I'm just, I'm just stirring up the pot. If he in charge, does he get those gold pants this season? Just a question.
Bro,
Not trying
like I keep telling you
to
this,
ruffle
bro.
nobody's feathers.
I keep telling you this, bro. We are 15-4 in the last 20 years against Michigan. You need to worry about Florida.
Is that a
Florida,
yes
you need
or
to,
a no?
You need to worry about Florida State, and you need to worry about Florida.
Is that a
You
yes
need
or
to
no
worry
to
about
those
that
golden
round. Or
pants?
who y'all play? Miami? Y'all play Miami or
We
Florida?
gonna beat Miami. We gonna beat Florida. Anybody else you got to ask about? Are y'all gonna get those gold
You
pants?
always asked about Michigan. Where the shirt at? Where the hat? Where the goggles?
No, I'm saying, are y'all gonna get the gold pants this year? That's a question.
Hey, I already got 100 bills on it. You heard me? You keep on asking the same question. I already put 100 bills on it. What other answer you want? I put my money where my mouth is.
Ooh, he said yes to the people. That's what he's saying. He's saying
I put my stop asking the same. I put my money. Hey, post game. I ain't paying him in all ones if I lose.
Yes, Zay. Tell the people yes, Zay.
Yeah, hey, listen. I put my money where my mouth is. I work hard for my money too. You better know it.
Yes.
It sounds to me like when you got to start talking about 20 years, means you ain't won nothing recently.
Man, I don't want to hear that now. You ain't beat me recently.
What? Exactly.
Talk about that. Exactly. Talk about that. Exactly. Yo, don't move the goalpost, dog. Don't move the goalpost, man.
Facts. But you don't hear me say nothing about 2005 and those other years that we did win, do you? Because we lost.
Hey, you know why it's 15-4 in the last 20 years? Because they ain't want to play us 1 year. Y'all want to talk about that? Hey, that program would have never been alive if they played us in that COVID year. That program would have never even been alive. We would have beat them. We would have beat them stupid off the field. Where you at, Parlay Poe? Where you at?
Talk recent history.
Hey, we're gonna find out real quick during week 1 what time it is.
Yeah, real quick. Real quick.
You know, we coming back for our KT, I might have to sit down with you and watch that game, and I don't do that often. We might have to get a spread set up, man, for that game this season.
Let me tell you something about KT. You're gonna have to find KT, bro. KT be all over the place, bro. You're gonna have to find KT. And it's not easy. It's not easy to find KT because KT is all over the place, bro. All right, so that's all I had, man. So I'm glad we was able to break that down today. We had some really, really good content there, man. Hopefully, we'll see y'all again on Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
Of course, I'll be on that crazy morning work schedule this weekend. I work tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. Then seeing OKC is up by 5 right now on that Western Conference game 2. Shy was starting to heat up a little bit. Of course, that big battle is going on.
I'm sick of him. He's a bum. Sick of him.
All right, y'all. Until next time.
Peace.
As we